Now our discussion has come to default authentication vulnerabilities. Let me tell you that sometimes when we discuss default authentication here, we see things multiple times. Many users, when we logged in, I also showed you using it here in our VS Code or any other tool. When our OpenClaw opens, you can see things in our Visual Studio. As soon as I open a new terminal and we talk about the installation of our agent, let's suppose I simply go to OpenClaw. You will see that our installation can come in the Windows PowerShell. I will simply go here, and as soon as I run it, you will see that our OpenClaw is installed. So the user's first recommendation here is that our agent should be quickly running, and they completely overlook the authentication hardening, because default configurations often prioritize usability over security, which can leave administrative interfaces, API, agent gateways, and connected security exposed. Attackers commonly scan the internet for AI agent deployments that are usually using the default credentials, which involve our weak passwords and other things. Along with that, if an OpenClaw instance is accessible from the internet and lacks our strong authentication controls, an attacker may gain direct access into the agent environment, and that causes an error on a much larger scale. How does that error happen? You might remember that when I also loaded OpenClaw here in the start, I opted for all the default credentials. I did not focus on details on a large scale. I just switched to the safest option, which was our default deployment, and from there we initiated our use case. What happens there is, when we use our default credentials like this, then our vulnerability becomes available at a much higher end. In such concerns, we should automatically do the manual working here. Let us suppose, wait a minute, I will close all this. The manual working we have, let me enlarge this a little bit. Now in our manual working, our working happens a bit differently. We should enter our self-added credentials here. This option is available in our first option. You will see here that our gateway has arrived, that is loading configuration. Everything is loaded. The provider authentication state pre-warmed in 382 milliseconds. Agent runtime plugins pre-warmed. If I look here, our agent is completely running directly, in which migration has happened. OpenClaw is installed, and the memory status is working. Now I did the basic installation with credentials. After installing with credentials, if we want to run it for the first time, we have to simply come here and simply say OpenClaw onboard. As soon as we enter this, it will completely come into our onboarding. You will see it has arrived. Here it says, I understand this is personal by default and shared multi-user. As soon as I select yes, we will see two options. First of all, we have this quick start, which is recommended, where there is a local setup and details will come. But if we take our manual setup, we will get the option to keep the current values, or review and update. We can use our setup local or remote. We can use that. Then our workspace directory will come. Then if we want any model, we can use the model here. After that, what is the default mode? We can keep the current model, which is a higher end model, or use another model. If we need to change our gateway port, we can change that. We have our gateway bind address too. If we want to walk with LAN, tailnet, or loopback. Now we talk about tokens. You can see the token is recommended, but we will keep the gateway access protection as a password. Now you see there are multiple vulnerabilities here, because since we started the manual working here, we are doing all our things manually. We can also turn off the tail scale exposure. We can also serve it, in which our private HTTPS can come or our funnel. This is a new concept, so I will simply copy this from here. By copying, we will use it here to see how the things are working. This provides our secure network connectivity without exposing your devices. The limit of our device exposure has come here. By creating a private mesh network or a tailnet, you can access internal resources from anywhere using identity-based authorization. So I will say yes here, that we also need our tailscale exposure. Previously, you can see in the documentation that we can directly access it now, so we will reset it. Now it asks, how do you want to provide the gateway password? It says, enter password now. I will include our password here. We will keep a simple password so that we can directly resolve it later. Here we have included our password. After the password, whenever we have our gateway, exactly this password of ours will come. You will see, set up a chat channel now. If we want to open a chat channel here, like manually we have our clack, line, matrix, many options are available here. We can make any connection from these. While making connections, we have to see that when we do such authentication, from the start before this connection, these previous securities, we can call them configuration or authentication weaknesses, which I discussed here in the topic about how to keep the default authentication weakness minimal. That will be done. Along with this, there is a very important thing here. You saw in the start that we used a model. We took our current model, and if you remember, we logged in with our ChatGPT. Sometimes an API comes, like, for example, I say an OpenAI API. What happens with this API is we use it in multiple places. This same API is going into our chatbot. This same API is going into some other use, which can cause a lot of issues. Shared credentials make accountability impossible because administrators cannot determine which user performs a particular action. If the key leaks through the logs, configuration files or backups, screenshots or prompt outputs, every system using that key will be compromised. OpenClaw deployments should use separate credentials for the different users, agents, and integrations whenever possible. We also have to see this directly, how we involve these direct issues or systems and use them further. This is a very credential-getting thing that we will have to see. We will look at containers and other things later, but before containers, in our starting basic authentication, what do we need? First of all, we should look at configuration handling, then look at the model authentication provider. Then, in our gateway, our access protection should be password-based, because the protection other than this is not very helpful here. Our previous gateway is running, and here all our model security has come. Now I will skip our model here in the start for the time being, so that we do not apply any channel here. Then comes our search provider. In the search provider, we have our models, from which we can say that we skip OpenClaw for the time being. Now our configure skills have come. We will say, yes, I want to configure them. Now you are seeing Install Missing Skill Dependencies. In the missing skills, we have multiple options available. We can take CLI from 1Password, or Blog Watcher, or other options. I will go exactly to the end here. You can see EXCurl, or if we want to skip these in the start, instead of all these, we will simply go to skip. And by selecting skip here, we will skip. We do not need Google API either. We do not need OpenAI API either. We do not need 11 Labs API either. And we skip our optional plugins too. We skip configuration plugins too. We skip hooks too. Why am I skipping all of these? Because these have usually come into our system. If we want to restart it, we can restart, but we will skip this option for once. And after that, our gateway service will be already closed here. You are seeing that now everything is working. You will see here that a direct file has come into running. Here is the response. Now, how do we want to hatch your agent? I want to hatch directly in the terminal. Hatching means how our agent will start. You will see, I am the middleware between your ambition and attention span. Now our OpenClaw TUI local embed agent is running here. I can say here, hi, can we set up a WhatsApp agent today? Here we gave a direct response. It will run for some time. Here are our tokens. You might remember that yesterday our 13,000 tokens were used previously in the GPT 5.5 model. The session was main, agent is main. Here, after our model vulnerability, we will get a response here. So this chat, we have brought our OpenClaw directly into running in our terminal. Along with this, there is a very important thing here. A particular dangerous issue occurs when authentication exists but is not constantly enforced. For example, a web interface may require login when back-end API remains publicly accessible. Attackers frequently target these forgotten endpoints because they often provide direct access to the agent's actions, security reviews, and also include the entry exposed by our OpenClaw. So here we see how these things have come directly into running, and in this, how our responses have come. Now you can see that a TUI of OpenClaw has arrived here, which we are responding to. So it will automatically bring things into our responses here. Now here you are seeing that along with all our other things, in the start you got a question, who am I? Who are you? We will look at this, how we can resolve it later. Because here, we have not provided the access control right now. If we have missing or misconfigured access controls here, how we can configure them, that will be our next target.